Welcome to Coffee and Contemplation with Susan Dunlop, episode 73. I am Susan Dunlop, a self-leadership coach and 3 Vital Questions facilitator living in Noosa on the Sunshine Coast of Queensland, Australia. If this is the first time you've joined me, welcome. And if you've been tuned in before, thank you for coming back. On Coffee and Contemplation, we explore intriguing stories, life and business lessons of individuals who are passionate about making a difference in the lives of people they care about and creating a ripple effect of good across the world. My guests are leaders, believers and creators, each committed to their unique missions. Today's guest is Sheri Lawrence from Dallas, Texas. I first met Sheri on the final day of the 3 Vital Questions trainer certification I was participating in back in 2021. The Centre for the Empowerment Dynamics time zone and mine are never quite in sync. I was seeing through the office window here that the sky was turning a beautiful orange-pink as the sun was rising. It was the end of spring here. We'd completed all our study modules and Sheri came on the screen as leader of the community of practice with a warm invite for us to participate. After all, that's what community is all about. That day, Sheri affirmed that she's a champion of TED and that she does most often stay in the background. I felt the sparkle of her energy and commitment to bringing this work to the world. I could see she is a champion of TED, and over the next few years we've met in group conversations at her 9 a.m. and my 2 a.m. On LinkedIn, I saw that beneath Sheri's name are the words lifelong learner. Leadership is not about titles. It's about what you do for others, and I loved that. Sheri's bio on LinkedIn, which you can read if you find her there, reads as an unusual path to coaching and leading, gives her a valuable perspective and empathy for those she connects with. Her grit and determination have led her in a direction few would have expected, and she uses those lessons learned to help others realise what is possible. You don't have to let your past define you, is a statement she lives by. Sheri spent 10 years in the relocation industry on the operations side before transitioning into a sales role, earning much recognition from her clients for her ability to take the time to understand what their needs were and develop long-term strategies to service those needs. She began coaching and mentoring other salespeople and found her love of coaching and training, which led her to become a certified sales trainer and coach. Sheri joined the team at Studio Movie Grill in 2010 and has held several roles through her tenure. Now, as the VP of Learning and Development and Sales, she focuses on her passion, being a people builder. She has been the champion for integrating the leadership training and development through the organisation and making it available to all team members at all levels to ensure everyone has the opportunity to grow. Studio Movie Grill credits the learning to being a critical reason the company maintained a creator mindset through the pandemic and a bankruptcy, retaining a majority of the management team. In her career, Sheri has earned several sales performance awards, executive leadership certifications, and sales and coaching certifications. Sheri is a graduate of the Stagen Leadership Academy, an internal coach for their curriculum, a 3VQ certified trainer, and champion for TED. She earned a life coach certification and volunteers to coach others. In 2022, she was recognised as one of the top 50 women leaders in Dallas and top 50 learning and development professionals. Wow. Sheri's here shaking her head about herself, and we're going to dig deep into what brought Sheri to TED, and we're going to talk one-on-one for the first time. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this conversation will take us. Welcome, Sheri.
Thank you. I'm just so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward just to having a comfortable conversation because we both get this TED work, and I think it's a way for us to be able to just talk simply about the basics of it, and let's see where we go.
Yeah, I like that you said the basics of it because, in some ways it seems like such a simple concept, but it is so amazing. And You know, we've often talked in the community of, you know, how David wrote this little book that turned into this unbelievable work that changes lives. So there are a lot of just getting back to the basics of how we are as humans.
That's what I thought. Actually, I called the series Transformative Leadership with Ted, the empowerment dynamic. And the rhythm that I've set up across August and into September, delayed because I couldn't talk and cough at the same time, is going to start with today, your path to TED. I agree. It's that the basics, there's so much to it when you understand it more, but I find that to get people just to even know a little bit about the beginnings of what brought you to TED would be a lovely place to start.
Yeah, well, I was working at Studio Movie Grill and was the executive assistant for the CEO. And I was really struggling. He is very entrepreneurial, and without intent, he was creating a lot of drama everywhere. I don't know if you're familiar with the Peanuts group. They do, you know, just the cartoon Peanuts and Charlie Brown and all of those. Well, in there, there's a character called Pigpen. And Pigpen is, wherever he goes, he leaves this trail of dirt and stuff behind him. And that's kind of how I envisioned. You know, it wasn't intent, but boy, there was a trail behind our CEO every time he walked around the company or went. And so that trail was drama. And I was introduced to the Stegan Academy and found TED there. And my life totally changed after that.
Okay.
And I remember while I was going through the learning, we had a coach assigned to us. And I was on a call with my coach because I was behind on my work. And she was asking me why I was behind. And I said, it's because of our boss. I can't do this. You know, he's always changing paths. Da, 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 da. And she didn't let me get away with it. She just stopped me. And she said, so you're a victim and you don't have any ability to change this. And I remember feeling so frustrated that she didn't get it. And we hung up from that call, and it was the next day after I reread part of the book about the drama triangle, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I am being a victim. And it just didn't even dawn on me. After that, it changed, and I realized it doesn't matter how my boss handles things. I have the ability to control how I handle things, and I am not going to be in the drama triangle. I am going to jump over to the empowerment dynamic. And of course, as you know, Susan, it's not just like a light switch. All of a sudden, we are living in the empowerment dynamic for the rest of our life. But it's that first step, right? And then little by little, you just keep practicing and practicing. And so it was just this amazing aha for me of realizing that through much of my life, I had been this victim, even though I saw myself as this positive, go out there and get things done kind of person.
Lovely. And I think a lot of people will relate to that with that entrepreneurial boss. So yeah, I can see I was relating to it too as an entrepreneurial person who was go, 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 go. And I was thinking, oh yeah, poor you, that you had to put up with someone like me. But But you realise it comes down to you internally. How are you processing that, doesn't it?
That's right. Yeah. And, you know, I was putting all this blame on him when, in fact, it wasn't his fault. He was being who he authentically is. And are there better ways to do things sometimes? Of course there are. There was things that he could improve. But I was creating all this extra drama by being a victim and blaming it on him. So I didn't have to take responsibility for how I was handling things.
Yeah, and did you feel tired all the time when you were being in that space?
I was exhausted all the time. And I was working way too many hours because I was spending too much time being in this emotional state of the drama triangle, right? And so, yeah, it was exhausting. It was not productive at all. And of course, we all know that any drama in the workplace rubs off on other people. So then it just continues to grow. And so much like the vision of Pigpen, what I realized, instead of him being Pigpen, I kind of was being Pigpen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
None of us want to be Pigpen.
No.
So what was the moment or experience, aside from that, that made you believe in TED so strongly? What was it about TED?
It made sense. It just made sense. All of a sudden, when you realize that all of these things that are getting to you emotionally, that are driving your anxiety and your stress and everything, when you realize that whether you're creating it or not, you're contributing to that, it just makes sense to go, oh, wait a minute. And, you know, one of the big things we learn in TED is we can't control what others do, nor should we, right?
That's
we don't
right.
need to be worried about what other people are doing. So, yes, somebody else can be in the drama triangle, can be creating all of this, but we don't have to jump in there with them. We can stay in the empowerment dynamic. And whether they choose to move out of the drama triangle or into the empowerment dynamic or not, we can choose to be in the empowerment dynamic.
How do you find, was that hard to do when you first started doing that, when you had a Pigpen type of boss?
Oh, yes. Well, of course, because, you know, it's much easier to blame it on somebody else, right? I mean, it's much than to have to say, oops, there's some things I need to change, doggone it, right? But, you know, it's also that realization. I always like to say, you know, when you don't know, that's one thing. When you do know and choose not to make a change or do something about it, that's a totally different thing. And so I do remember when all of a sudden all of this clicked. It was, well, now that I know this, I've got to figure out how to work more into it and learn how to use it and learn how to be in the empowerment dynamic more, because what I saw is that is a place where you don't have to allow everybody else's drama and your own drama to drive how you handle your life.
Yes.
And at the time, I had a 13, 14-year-old son. And so that gave me even more reason to do it, because I wanted to be able to be the best parent I could be. And he and I saw the world totally differently. So it also really helped me understand that I could see him as a creator, and just because we don't agree didn't mean that he was wrong.
I love that. I love that piece, and it feels almost it's difficult to come back to sometimes, is that seeing others as a creator, even if they're not believing they are or not acting like they are, but to be able to pull yourself back up. It's like there's actually like a physical movement in this whole drama to empowerment. It's like drama to me keeps me down, sort of squat to the left of me. I feel like I'm just in this ball. But when I can see others as a creator or see myself as a creator, I sort of get taller and go up towards my right. It's like, there's actually oxygen out here that I can draw on and move forward from.
Yeah, I love that. You're exactly right. I also notice how much more relaxed I am when I'm in the empowerment dynamic. I don't have knots in my stomach. I'm not, if I'm in a meeting, I'm not hunched forward. I'm relaxed. My shoulders are down. I'm not tense. And we all know body language sends a huge message as well. And so You know, when you're with other people and you're relaxed and, like you said, you're taller, right? That in itself changes the dynamics when you're in a group.
Oh, for sure. And that's just a simple basic part of it, isn't it? It's like a basics can be let your shoulders drop. Believe that other people have got this creator essence in them that we've learned more and more of since the work we've done with David and Donna has expanded.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful place to come to. And as you said earlier, though, it's not like we stay there. We drift backwards and forwards into drama all the time. I'm pretty good at that right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So moving on, how has your own leadership style evolved since you began using TED?
That's a really great question. In my 20s and 30s, as I was learning to be a leader, I was pretty harsh. And I remember one of the things that people would tell me is that when somebody came to me with a problem or an issue, I would do this kind of thing with my lips and my eyes would roll. I didn't know it, right? And then they told me what that made them feel like. So I certainly worked on that early in my career, but that might have gone away. But what caused that didn't go away. And with TED, my leadership has become so much better. Now, at first, I had to kind of convince myself of this, right? Because when you're starting and you're trying to practice it, it doesn't come automatically, right? You're trying to change habits and things like that. But now I truly enjoy sitting and listening to our team members here, whether they are on the same page with me, whether they're not. I love being able to understand their perspective. I love being able to walk through a challenge that they give me and being able to see the result on the other side. I'm kinder, more humble. I listen so much better than I ever did before. I communicate so much better because what I've learned being a leader and being a creator, how you see others is so much different than how you see them from the drama triangle. So every interaction I have, whether it be email or in person, by Zoom, my biggest thing is to understand what the other person needs, wants, has in their mind. And I just think as a leader, when we come to every meeting or to every interaction with the other person on our mind and on our heart, we may make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, right?
Yes.
It's okay. The message it sends other people is that we care about you.
That's beautiful.
And and you can't always say yes to everything. You know, when you're a leader in a big organization, there's times you have to say, no, that's not the direction we're going, or, hey, I love the fact that you brought an idea, but it's not the right time. But you do it with care. You do it with care for the other person. And that's just so different. Before, when I was younger, everything was all about me. Whatever I say, whatever I do, how can I get what I want? And, you know, one of the questions is TED is, what do you want? And so what I've learned through the years now is one of my first questions to our team members when we have a meeting is, what do you want? It just makes me a good person all the way around.
So just two things there I'm just picking up on was, we talked about the exhaustion of being in drama. But coming from this place where you're kinder, more humble, you're listening better, you're communicating so much better, and you're caring, that's a quieter space to come from, isn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. You don't feel the need to be the person in the room, so to speak, talking. in executive meetings in the past, I felt like I had to speak up at everything that was happening, right? I had an opinion, I had to speak up. And now my joy and I think my contribution comes from listening to what everybody has to say and when appropriate speaking. Now, I will tell you, I'm a very passionate person. So at times my mouth's going to take off and, but we're all who we are. And that's okay.
And we do have so many thousands of words that we need to use in a day. So, you've got to get them out somewhere, don't you?
That's right.
So the other thing that I picked up in there, and you might want to touch on it, but it's up to you. What caused it didn't go away, you said at the beginning of that. And then you said you don't have to be the person in the room talking. I know myself from that sort of probably the lack of self-confidence I had when I first worked in a law firm. And they moved me up from junior receptionist up to being the manager of people with no experience. Just, there you go, there's your job. I remember sitting and hosting meetings of the whole secretarial and admin team for lunch. And often they just sit there silently. And so I had to fill that space. But I was exhausted. I was just like,
Yeah.
I didn't know how to communicate. And I think that's okay to admit, because I was only, 25, maybe 30 max. But I now understand where I have come from with that. Well, how about you? Did you want to share on that? What caused it?
Yeah, I love that. Listen, you've got your TED ears on. I think for me, it's once I looked in the mirror, so to speak, and saw who I was as a leader. And I wasn't horrible, but I wasn't who I wanted to be. I wanted to be that leader that I felt good about every night on my way home. I knew I would make mistakes. I knew that means that on a daily basis, I would feel good, excuse me, about how I interacted, the things that I did, how I build other people up in the things that I did to help them get to where they wanted to go. And so for me, it was that look in the mirror, so to speak, to say, wow, I just didn't realize that all of this around me was happening and how I was either contributing to it or causing it. And so that caused me to really dig in. I think I was born a learner. So for me, once I see something, either I don't know or I need to learn, then I just kind of dig in and go for it.
And I sort of sense that from your bio, the type of roles that you've played, the sales role, you're interested in people. As a salesperson, you are, compared to other sales that I've come across. But I feel that's where this work fits into that as well, is understanding what's going on underneath for yourself.
Yes. And I will tell you, you and I in the community talk a lot about how do we spread this, right? And one thing that really helped me too is when I was going through this training and was introduced to TED, there were several of my coworkers, we were all going through it at the same time. And I saw them grabbing it and saying, there's something here. And so we saw each other changing a little bit. And that really spurred my curiosity that, oh, wait a minute, it's not just me. There's something going on here. And then we started talking about it. And when you see something that truly works, you want more. I mean, as a salesperson, I went to, I don't know how many conferences, I would, all these things that you go to and you get pumped up and excited about this. And then you come back in about 3 or 4 weeks, it's all gone. This was different. I was seeing this change our people that went through it. And I was every day being involved in conversations that were all of a sudden different.
I was delivering the program to a whole school in Hong Kong, 50 staff, and I was witnessing what you're saying, and it was just filling me up with so much joy to see that this principal and vice principal decided to bring that to their staff. They just chose to. They said, we'd love them to have TED in their lives. They weren't even saying for work. They were saying in their lives. Oh my God, what are these type of leaders like? And they were all saying, how awkward it was at first. They were going, oh God, we're TEDing at each other and sounding like, we're making up this new language. And then by the end of it, they were just so chill. They were just all let's do a do-over. Let's do this. And I think it was a beautiful thing to watch, but knowing the ripple effect of that, like as you said, there was a few of you doing it and there was something bigger going on for all of you. I just think of the lives that touches, it touches your son. It touches the people who are anywhere near you on the way home from work, that you've got that different sense about you, I think,
Yeah. It's really, really amazing. We've integrated it here. It was probably 6 months after we finished that training, and we're like, this belongs here. Yeah. And we worked really hard to integrate it. And I can tell you, it's amazing to me now that everybody gets an opportunity to learn TED, from the new hourly team member that we have all the way to the CEO. We talk about it. We have the same language. One of the most amazing things that happened early on that really drove us to keep it going was we had a company meeting where we literally had every different staff. It wasn't just an executive meeting, it was everybody. And to be able to hear the language being spoke from everybody. And we're kind of a funny company. We like to joke around. So to be able to hear, one of our hourly staff say to the vice president, oh, I think you're persecuting us, in fun, because we always talked about don't weaponize it, but it was like, for me, I didn't think life could get any better to be able to see a room full of people with all different levels, in our company, having an amazing conversation, sharing that similar language and understanding, and really listening to each other. I mean, it's a game changer.
It's unique, isn't it? And it just gave me goosebumps, just the idea of that type of meeting, that, to let your people feel that sense of, I'm allowed to speak because I know I'm going to do it with compassion, with understanding, to be able to say you're persecuting us, or say, hey, I'm feeling victimy right now. Can I just start over? Just to be able to have the common language, to be able to give yourself a moment to just start again, because we all haven't learned how to communicate well necessarily as children and through our early 20s or whatever. So to be able to bring that to a workplace and let people see that is the way that an organization can operate is incredible.
Yeah, it just, I love what you just said. And there were a couple of things I expected when I started championing this. What I didn't expect was how much our team members appreciated us offering it to them. I didn't think about that piece of it. I thought about, I know it's going to improve productivity. I know it's going to improve our communication. I know having a common language is good. All of these things, and I know what it did for me, so I know it's, but what I didn't expect is so many of our team members coming up to me after the classes, 6 months, a year, 2 years later, saying, this is so amazing. We should never stop doing this. How can we get this down to more team members? It's changed my life. I have stories of general managers calling me and saying, this not only has made me a better general manager, but it's made me a better parent, and just on and on. And that was the piece that I didn't really think about. And that's the most important piece.
Yeah. Wow. The stories, you must have a lot of stories there that you could share. So I'm going to ask you to pick one. Let's try and see. I'll give you a minute. Let's have a think. So could you pick a personal story or a story about a challenge in the workplace that you faced and how, say, maybe the TED principles helped you to overcome it?
Yeah. So This has been a few years ago, but what came to my mind is we had a VP of marketing, and he had been with us a couple of months, and I was struggling to communicate with him. So he had never been through TED. It felt like no matter what I tried, we couldn't communicate. And I had to certainly work with the VP in marketing from my role. And we tried meeting offsite, we tried meeting on-site, we tried having somebody come with us. I mean, I tried all of these things. And I was just like, what am I missing? And one of my co-leaders said, he doesn't know about TED. And I went, oh, you're right. I mean, he's only been here 2 months. So I met with him and I said, look, can we time out on our meetings regarding work? And can we just talk about a couple of things here regarding communication and learning? Because I think there's something that you could do for me that would help me better communicate with you. And, he's like, well, what is it? And so I started talking to him about TED. And I said, I have just really embraced this. And if you would just spend some time with me going through TED, I think it would help both of us. And so he was open to it, and he did. And I got to tell you, little by little, after that, we spent, 3 or 4 weeks working together. And when we would meet, it was just about TED, talking about TED. And after that, we were able to sit down in a room, just he and I, and talk through work issues. And we were on different sides a lot of times. Never escalated. It wasn't emotional. There was no drama.
It really did make a shift, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's simple, really. That was 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. I could see it when I first did it for myself, and I chose to use the model against my personal life when I first used the workbook when I was doing the e-course. And then I've done it again just to review even how, as I said before, how I looked at myself as that 25, 30-year-old manager. So you can keep applying it across different parts of your daily relationship with one person at work, can't you? Or how you can improve on that relationship with someone else from your side. Like you did that from your side, and you let him step into the space with you.
Yeah, because I knew enough to know. Number one, he didn't know it, so I couldn't necessarily speak to him directly, right? Because he didn't know the language, he didn't understand the work. But I knew there was something going on with me. If I couldn't sit in a room with him and be able to get to where we needed to be, there was something going on with me, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
Oh, for sure.
And that's the only thing I could think of is, look, there's something going on with me. I am not going to give up, but maybe it will help if I can go through TED with him. And maybe by going through TED, I'll get that. I'll figure out what it is that where we're not connecting. And, that was a big one for me because that helped me realize that it's not enough just to read the book once, teach it once. This is something that, as a company, with our outcome wanting to be that we use TED every day in our company, this is something that we've got to do on a regular basis so we have people go back through it. And for me, we show movies for a living, right? For me, it's like when you go to a movie and you watch a movie and, you come out of it and you're like, oh my gosh, I love that movie. You go see it again. It's like it seems like there's something you didn't see the first time, right? That's what TED is like. You go through it the first time and you get all this stuff. Then you go through it again. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get that the first time. Well, yeah, of course you didn't, because now you're kind of integrating it a little bit more. Yeah. So for me, TED is like, you just go keep seeing the movie.
Exactly.
See it as many times as you want.
Because I found it really easy to listen to the audiobook of it. So it's only, 3 hours, I think it is. It lets it just drop into you. When you're doing that with someone, I was thinking we are going to talk about skeptics in the 4th episode. But, okay, so you're sitting there with someone, you're not quite getting him, he's not probably getting you. I imagine a lot of leaders would go, that would be typical, a normal day, that would happen in most conversations. A lot of people would also think, what's this, just another model? What is this real? Is this something that can possibly change the way our place operates? Just from that perspective, is there anything you can shed some light on there?
Yeah, you're so right. There's a lot of companies that have said, hey, we're going to take this leadership training or this training, whatever it is, right? Everybody take it, we're going to be better. Well, it's kind of like, okay, well, if you want to make a major change in your life, you're not going to take a pill and all of a sudden wake up the next morning, right? So there's a lot of companies that try that because that's kind of what we've been taught. We've been kind of taught, oh, you got this problem at your company, hire a consultant to come in, boom, it's over with. Or go take this training, boom, it's over with. And you can do training. Consultants are great, but you have to commit to it.
Yeah.
It's the commitment the company makes that makes the change. And that's why we decided we're going to make a commitment. We gave ourselves 5 years.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do, and we're going to see. And if we see in 5 years that it's made a difference, then we'll keep it going. Well, we didn't need 5 years to see that it made a difference, right?
No. Yeah.
But that's what it is. It's that commitment. And it's not just doing something one time and thinking, okay, now everybody's got it. Somebody internally has to champion it, and it has to start at the top of the organization.
Yes.
Because if the executives aren't speaking the language and practicing it, then for the most part, a lot of other people in the company, they look at it and say, yeah, they're making us do this, but they didn't have to do it. So how important is it really, right? But when the executives do it and they practice it and they're having those conversations with the next level down, saying this stuff is really great, we want you to go through it because this is going to be great for you, it changes the whole dynamics.
The case studies speak to that too. When I first came to become a trainer and got access behind the scenes to everything, and I was reading all these little reports, and I read your case study, and there was a Cleveland clinic, and I think the Driver Select. It all was about the leader relating to themselves better in the end.
Right.
And I've seen that when we were purchased, my organisation got purchased by a national organisation. And so I'd come from, having been the CEO of that and having to work beneath those people for 2 more years. And I wondered, how do you ever integrate something even from the board level so that people believe that you are really on board with this, that you're not just asking them to change, you're fixing from the bottom up. The lack of trust is there if you do that. And I saw that across that organisation with all their multiple offices they had. I think, wow, the trust is really just ruined here.
Yeah.
So you need to get past that.
Yeah. Susan, you know this, that TED really does make an impact. So once somebody starts practicing it, right? And everybody gets their aha moment at a different time. There's no right or wrong time. But once somebody starts practicing it and really understands it, it becomes much easier, right?
Yeah.
To share it because you're anxious to share it. You want to tell other people that you work with, oh my gosh, this stuff is great, And so that's when those amazing stories, those individual stories come out and start getting shared through the company. You see the impact it can make, and it makes it a whole lot easier to want to integrate it and really drive it through the organization.
That's what I'm so excited about, being able to bring this to Australian organisations, or as I did in Hong Kong. It's something that I wished I had, when I was that burgeoning leader and, throwing myself into a CEO role and just having this big dream but doubting myself so much in that people aspect, that people, I can't get that right. And self-blame was a big thing for me. So I just wished I had it back then. But I thought, well, if I know all that and I've experienced that, I do see people. I can see that they might be going through that pain as well. So if we can all own our victim, persecutor, rescuer roles that have played out in our lives, but see that light, see that creator triangle of creator, challenger, coach, that's in us. That's what I found was beautiful to learn through all of this, that they are roles that are inside us. We just don't practice them as much.
So well said. And, something you made me think about too, you're talking about that, 20-something-year-old, right, that gets put into this management responsibility of some sort, whatever the role is. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness. One of the big areas that we've seen vast improvement is in our new managers.
Yeah.
I mean, our new managers are anywhere from 25 to 35 years old. They haven't gone through leadership training before. They haven't had anybody teach them anything like this, how to handle emotionally challenging, issues that come up in the workplace. And boy, they are just so grateful. The investment in them is so worth it. Investment in everybody, but to be able to see these younger managers blossom and know for the first time how to handle some of these. And you brought the confidence that this gives all of us. And it also allows us to realize it's okay to be who we are.
Yeah.
This is who we are. And we're a work in progress, all of us.
That's right.
It's just amazing for young managers.
Oh, I think so. As you said, so for you to be showing up, as I repeated before, as that kinder, humble person who can listen better, to be the 25-year-old new manager who's getting to learn that then, what's the future look like for that person to take that work and the ripple effect they're going to make in the communities they serve? Just incredible.
That's right. Yeah.
So you did talk about TED being a long-term strategy rather than a one-off initiative, and you've mentioned 5 years as your goal. So how far are you into it now?
We are 10 plus years.
Oh, okay. Way past 5 years.
Yeah, 10 plus years. And we have started a new piece where we have the majority of our team members are hourly team members working across 19 locations. And those have been the hardest, right, to get in front of. Many of them are high school or college age students, but you know what? Of all people, they really need it too. And so we have been playing with a way how to get that in front of them over the last year, because anytime we ask an hourly team member to train, we have to pay them because they're an hourly team member. So we have found some ways now to do it by just giving them little bits and pieces along the way. This is integrated. Every leader for our organization goes through this. It's in our orientation for all new employees. It is in a lot of different learning modules that we have on our LMS. It's in our documents. I mean, we use the 5-step action plan when we have something going on that we need to work on, especially as a team. So it's really become integrated. There's TED books all through our company. It is just part of how we do business now.
Okay. And the small snippets is important too. I think that's part of what I was looking at when I'm bringing it to organisations here, is to not get in the way of the daily workload. But also I used to employ people on a casual basis because we were a labour hire business. So yeah, I get that when you're trying to educate, you've got to be conscious of the cost of that. So work out how to do that without impacting their time off, because really it's their time off that you're asking to step back into work for. So what would be a small snippet that you would do? What would be if you give me an example of one of those?
Sure. So one of the first places we start is, what is the drama triangle? And so we just do a few minute snippet of, hey, what is the drama triangle? And, for our younger team members, the examples that we would use with that snippet would be toward the high school or college, something that really relates to them so that they get it a little bit quicker, because our goal is to get them so interested that they're going to read the book and that they're going to go through some of the other training that we offer. So we'll just do a little snippet on, hey, what is this drama triangle thing anyway? And hey, what is this empowerment dynamic? How are you feeling? When something comes up, how do you feel? What's your orientation? And so they're just 2 to 3 minute snippets.
That's pretty much within the time frame they're saying of people's concentration anyway nowadays, isn't
it? Yeah.
Okay, so you've been on a lot longer journey than the 10 years. So you've been 15-year journey with TED altogether for you personally, is that right?
Yeah, about 14, 15 years. Yeah.
Wow, okay. What's been the most rewarding aspect for you personally and professionally?
Personally, the impact I have on others, the gratitude I have for this work. It has made me such a better human, which means that every interaction I have with people is more valuable for me and them. I just like who I am because I practice TED. And that sounds real sappy and real like, yeah, whatever, but it is totally the truth. I know how important face-to-face impact is. It can be going to the local coffee house, ordering a coffee, right? And you're in there for whatever, 3-4 minutes. But that impact with the barista can either add to their drama or take away from their drama, or that barista can add to my drama or take away from my drama, right? And a 3-minute impact can be so effective in helping somebody's life be better. And that's what TED has done for me.
And that is a wonderful place for us to end, for people to contemplate. It does. It wraps us up with the idea of, was it Donna and David say, is easy to understand, but it's not that easy to practice. We do need to practice this work. But you've been putting it into practice for some time and you still get it and you still are championing it. And we'll go on to, what are we going to go on to next time we have a chat? I'll just have a quick look before I wrap up. We're going to go into the power of TED in action next time. The one after that's going to be overcoming challenges and expanding horizons. And we will wrap up with insights and advice for skeptics. So, Sheri, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate the time you've given me, and you've given me insights beyond what I have ever had before to this work that I love too.
Well, thank you. I always like to say, watch out, world. When you get 2 TED champions together, a lot can happen. And there may be a little bit of mileage between us, but boy, we can make that seem real small.
Oh, I know.
You're an amazing champion, the things that you're doing. So I appreciate the honor to be able to spend some time with you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So listeners, was there a key takeaway that you got from this conversation today and all that Sheri has shared with us? If you've got any questions from today's episode, please send them to me at connect@susandunlop.com.au, or you can message me on LinkedIn, or I'm on Instagram as simply Lead, Believe, Create. I am forever thankful to my beautiful guests for allowing me to understand them more and to share their stories. Trust that you are blessed, even when you forget that you are blessed. Take care of yourself. I look forward to being back soon, and bye for now.